Madam Chair, ours is a clash of civilization, where by large state services, Mayangan and Huli people in the islands of Papua Nuigini have shot from the Costoni and age of truth sustainability to the species in one generation, which turning results for some tribesmen in the youth, where grass was grown and spread fanatically, which started with better paradise feathers, now have health care and modern homes. But the majority are really from the impact of cash for land deals that have turned their traditions upside down and their ancestral home in the industrial moonscape pervaded by guards and police, including one of Papua Nuigini's notorious mobile units, beyond was against human rights activities, including killings. The Porgera mine case is a textbook case for what can go wrong when large-scale mining companies confront indigenous peoples, including the impacts of these projects and resorting to gold scores when people of Papua Nuigini. This outrages the conscience of local indigenous communities, especially when the mine is right next to our home. My people are exposed to dangerous chemicals like cyanide and mercury. Some of our people drown in the tailings and waste during floods, and fishing stopped. Flora and fauna are depleted down the river system, leading to indigenous food sources being threatened. To date, it has been primarily the responsibility of the PNG government to ensure that the PNG mines do not violate indigenous people's rights. This reflects the power historically wield by the state, both individually and collectively through institutions like the UN. However, the increasing global power and influence of transnationals like the Canadian Barrick international managers of the Porgera mine, that they, alongside the PNG government, must be responsible for upholding human rights within the spheres of influence. Madam Chair, in the opening statement for the 7th Permanent Forum, the Bolivian President Evo Morales drew a focus to how democracy and capitalism have destroyed traditional values and cultures of indigenous communities around the world. Madam Chair, the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the national goals and directive principles that underlie the PNG Constitutional Code have not only the moral responsibility to uphold rights of affected indigenous peoples in PNG, but also it is increasingly seen as implying the legal liability as organs of society to respect, promote, and secure human rights. Renowned international legal scholar, Professor Louis Ankins, stated that every individual and every organ of society, exclusive, no one, no company, no cyberspace, the Universal Declaration applies to them all. Madam Chair, therefore, we recommend that calls for an activation of the 2005 Extra Active Industries Review for activation of the previous intervention to address the impact and legacy of extra active industries on indigenous lands, territories, and natural resources. Urgently call for funding to ECOSAT for a World Summit to seek solutions for indigenous nations and people affected by aggressive industries in order to complete recommendations by 2009 for the 2010 Commission on Sustainable Development. Investigate how to set up an indigenous arbitration system, a regulatory regime to control the practices of national mining companies, other extractive industry, forestry and fisheries, because the UN agency to build on the research done by NGOs to document the holistic impact of mining on indigenous communities, including environmental justice, the legacy of mining waste, destroyed square sites, degraded lands, and poisoned waters. Form an agency to evaluate the amount indigenous communities involuntarily subsidized by mining industry and other extractive industry to the natural resources, which are such with minimal compensation, if any, by forms of colonialism perpetrated by transnational companies. Madam Chair, we call for an expert workshop drawing on all expert investigation into mining impacts on indigenous nations and people, such as the Committee on Elimination for all forms of racial discrimination. Observation on both Canada and the US must regulate their transnational corporations impacting indigenous communities outside their borders. Madam Chair, last but not least, regards the joint report before 8th Permanent Forum from the Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General on Business and Human Rights and the Special Rapporteur on the Situation of Human Rights and fundamental freedom of indigenous people, identifying cross-nationals and their type of behavior which breaches the inherent right to detail the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. 7, create an indigenous network of mining activities. We call on everyone at this forum to begin their network. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jethro Tulin.